Hi guys, today I'm going to show you to craft minion ones. There's a lot of different versions that you can craft. I'm going to start with the fracture one, but there's also cheaper ways. This fracture version is really expensive. It's going to cost you minimum like 80 exalts to make. And you want to start with a base that is a convoking wand with the mod minions deal damage with a chance of double damage. This is a temple mod and you can get it from Alva. And as you can see, they're worth like 10, 11x each. And you need 3 on average. So once you have this mod, you want to fill up the prefixes. So you do suffix to prefix or craft a prefix to fill them up. And you also want to divine the minion damage to perfect roll, which is 66%. Because if you don't divine it now, you cannot divine it anymore once it's fractured. And once you have your 3 prefixes, you can just go ahead and fracture 1 out of 3 prefixes. And if you fail, you just buy another base and go again. If you hit the minion, you go to the next step. The next step is to fossil spam with corroded, jagged, metallic shattering for +1 minion and +1 all spell skill gems. Now we have our 3 prefixes done. And we go to the next step, which is to get the first suffix, you want to craft prefix cannot be changed and reforge life. This takes on average 7 tries to get tier 2 and 14 to get tier 1. And if you cannot craft prefix cannot be changed because your suffixes are full, you can do reforge, keep prefixes until you have a suffix open, so you can continue with the craft. Once you hit your minion live, you can go to the next step, which is getting the second suffix, and you get the second suffix by unveiling a mod. And you can either go for minion attack and cast speed, which has a 20% chance of unveiling, or you can go for trigger socketed spells when you use a skill, which has 29% chance of unveiling. And if you hit the mod that you want, you go to the next step. And if you don't hit the mod that you want, you're gonna have to craft prefix cannot be changed and gamble on an annul and hope that the 50% chance of removing the accuracy. You actually can also remove the prefix cannot be changed, but you can just recraft it on for 2x. So it's technically a 50-50 between these 2 mods, and with a chance of wasting 2 exalts. And if you hit the mod that you just unveiled with the bad one, you can just remove the craft and unveil again. But if you remove the minion life, you have to go back to the step before and redo the reforged lives again. So it's gonna cost you around 7 to 14 tries depending how good you want the one to be. And as the last step, you want to enchant the weapon, quality to 30%, divine the suffixes, and then recraft the mod until you hit perfect roll. For example, in this example, you don't have a roll on the trigger, but if you unveil the trigger instead and you add the minion attack and cast speed as the last suffix, and you craft that on, you can just recraft it over and over to hit the perfect roll. The next version is going to be way cheaper, and you want to start by crafting on a level 82 convoking wand, and we don't want any influence to start with. And you just want to fossil spam with corroded, jagged, metallic shattering until with +2. Once you have +2, you have different options that can happen. If you have an open prefix and you want to use that prefix open to craft minion damage later on, prefix cannot be changed and scour. If your suffixes are full and you cannot keep crafting, you are gonna want to craft a random prefix now, and then you craft reforge, keep prefixes so that your prefixes do not get rerolled, only your suffixes. And this should open up suffix usually. Just make sure that you craft a random prefix, or on the reforge, you could actually add a random prefix from reforging, and then you can just do the prefix cannot be changed and scour. And once you only have the 2 mods here, you can just multi-mod and then craft cannot roll caster mods. This blocks a lot of bad outcomes from the Redeemer's Lamb. And the last mod you want to craft is a prefix, random, anything is fine, so that when you Redeemer's Lamb, the only mod open on this item is a suffix, and we're blocking a lot of them with cannot roll caster. This makes our chance of hitting something really good for this wand go to almost 36% chance. If you hit the mod that you want, you're pretty much done. And you can just multi-mod increase attack and cast speed and minion damage, and it's a 5 mod wand, really solid and pretty cheap. If you don't hit what you want and you hit like exposure or onslaught or something, you can just probably just sell the base and start over. I don't think it's worth it to just craft over this because it's gonna be expensive to reforge influence. You could also unveil a suffix and craft minion damage, or if you want to go for like a really expensive version, you can try to double unveil, trigger, and attack and cast speed and craft minion damage. The next step is if your prefixes are full and you don't care about having minion damage crafted as the last prefix, you want to craft prefix cannot be changed and scour so that we clean up our suffixes. If your suffixes are full and you cannot craft the prefix cannot be changed, you want to reforge key prefixes. And then once you have your base clean with only the prefixes, you craft cannon roll caster mods, which blocks a lot of the bad mods from the Redeemer Slam. And then you want to slam with the Redeemer Exalted Orb, and this has a 36% chance, which is higher than a 1 in 3 of giving you a good mod. If you hit a bad mod, I would just recommend starting over, but if you hit a good mod, you can just go ahead and unveil the next mod. And you want to go for minion attack and cast speed or trigger a socketed spell. If you hit a bad mod, you can try to craft prefix cannot be changed and go for a 50-50 annul. If you annul the mod that you just veiled, which is bad, you can try to unveil again with Aisling. If you remove the influence mod that you slammed before, you just want to start over, because if you were to craft prefix cannot be changed and reforge influence to get the mod back, is going to be way more expensive than just starting over, and it's not really worth, because we cannot block caster mods as we need to craft prefix cannot be changed instead. And if you hit your unveil, you can just craft the last mod and you're done in this version. And the third version of the craft is going to be if you hit a really good third prefix, for example minion damage. This is pretty rare, and to hit at least tier 4 of minion damage as a prefix is going to be 147 tries of the fossil spamming on average. But if you get lucky and you hit a really good base, what you can do instead is craft prefix cannot be changed and build Chaos Orb to unveil the first suffix. And there's different cases. If you have only one build suffix, you just reveal. If you have one build suffix with a random bad mod, you want to also unveil, but depending on the outcome, you just roll over with prefix cannot be changed and unveil Chaos Orb again. But if you have a good mod instead of a bad mod, you want to craft prefix cannot be changed and try to gamble annul so that you can try to remove the lightning damage. And the good mods in this craft are minion attack and cast speed and trigger, as usual. And on the third case is if you hit one build mod plus 2 bad mods. If you have this happen to you, never reveal the third mod or you get stuck with 3 suffixes. What you want to do is just go on the bench, remove this mod, the build suffix. This counts as a craft if you don't talk to June. And if you talk to June, it becomes an actual mod on the item. So you just want to remove this, craft prefix cannot be changed, and unveil Chaos Orb again. Once you hit your first unveiled suffix, you want to craft Cannon Roll Caster mod and Redeemer Slam. And this has a 36% chance of giving you a good mod. If you hit a good mod, which the good mods are Hatred, or Effect, or Auras from your skill grant damage, you can just craft the last mod and be done. But if you hit a bad mod, you want to craft prefix cannot be changed and annul for a 50-50 chance of removing the bad mod that you just Redeemer Slammed. If you remove the veiled mod, you go back to the step before, and you don't need to recraft prefix cannot be changed as it's already on the item, and you can just go on and veil Chaos Orb, so you save 2 exalts. And if you remove the bad influence mod instead, you can just craft can roll caster mods, and you can augment influence, and then just craft the last mod. You could also do the influence mod first by crafting previous cannot be changed and the reforged influence, including an influence modifier. But if you do it this way, you don't have the cannot roll caster mods blocking a lot of the bad weight. So it's gonna take you a lot of rerolls, and the reforged, including an influence modifier, are pretty expensive. So I think it's cheaper to just augment influence for a 1 in 3 chance. This is pretty expensive and should only be done on a really expensive base. I wanted to thank everyone watching the videos. If you want to become a member of the community, you can join the Discord server. And if you want to become a member, you get additional perks like badges, emojis, and much more. All my content is free, my spreadsheet and my videos, so all of the help and support is appreciated.